Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to the Minutes with Milo show, or welcome to, or however you might be. If it's first time, last time, oh, don't let it be the last time. Please say it's not true. But if you're a returning listener, viewer, player, whatever, welcome, welcome, welcome. So, Minutes with Milo show is supposed to be a talk show with guests. If you want to be a guest, hit me up. We got telephone numbers. We can do that. We can do video. We can do all kinds of stuff. Let's see if we can get my telephone number up there. Look at that. Telephone numbers. So, talking about Amelia Earhart tonight. So, she flew a plane. She was reportedly very nice. I never met her. Very thin. Really thin. We'll see some pictures over here in a minute. There's Clell. What's going on? Amelia Earhart, pretty thin woman, and I, have heard about her, know the story lightly. I've not delved into it or anything, so we'll look at the story. We'll look at her flight plan. I mean, she flew airplanes. She flew a lot, but of course, the big thing is when she was trying to fly around the world, and yep, she went missing. So we'll look at that flight plan, and we'll look at why I decided to try to do the show on her tonight. Now, like all my other shows, no expert. We don't get into it too all fire deep usually. And this stuff, I read it off the internet. A lot of it is my opinion, my take on what I read. So please do your own research uh, and take what I say with a grain of salt or a teaspoon. I don't. A teaspoon might be okay. So we're going to get right into it. Let's do the window capture thing. Bring that up. Let me get rid of my YouTube over here. Wow, why is all that in there? Why isn't it picking that up? Browser, Earhart, YouTube. That's what I'm supposed to be looking at. Okay. Did that not work? Desktop audio. I am a professional. Don't worry. I will figure this out. There it is. See, I told you I would figure that out. Ta-da! Let's hide our telephone number for now. Ta-da! So, at some point, Clell, I'm going to give you a fair warning. Google keeps sending me this thing saying you're not using your Google number. And that's what I use for the show. So, I'll give you the number, maybe the last few minutes, or if you want to jump in now. Let's try the phone again, and that way I can make sure it works in case Santa Claus wants to call and schedule me to come help him, or uh, you know they'll just get off my case. But Amelia Earhart, let me know what you want to do. She flew planes. I never knew, the whole story. You hear about it. So let's read about it on our infamous, the best place to go, or what I use, Wikipedia. Amelia Mary Earhart. Scroll that up so everybody can see. Born July the 24th, 1897. She was born in 1897. that's just, it's hard for me to grasp that, she wasn't born too far after the Civil War ended. And that's just hard to believe. And uh, the reason it's hard for me to believe is that she is still the focus of of people spending millions and millions and millions of dollars to try to solve this mystery. So I'm doing some calculating here. 7. She was born roughly 127 years ago, and people are still what's that word? Enamored? Still hooked on this, on her. And that, maybe it's not her per se, as it is the story. I guess it could be just anybody that fell into this and, you know, would be a legend. But think about that. She's a woman in a time when, you know, they weren't supposed to be doing this kind of stuff. So when it says here she was an American aviation pioneer, most definitely. She was the first female aviator to fly solo across the Atlantic Ocean. She set many other records. She was one of the first aviators to promote commercial air travel, wrote best-selling books about her flying experiences, and was instrumental in the formation of the 1990s, an organization for female pilots. Why would she call it the 1990s? Also known as the 99s. I'm sorry. Yeah, the 99s. Why did I say 1990s? Duh. I need to get these glasses checked. They don't read right. Just like, my spell checker. My spell checker misspells stuff when I put it in there. She was born and raised in Atchison, Kansas, and moved to Des Moines, Iowa. Earhart developed a passion for adventure at a young age, steadily gaining flying experiences from her 20s. So, in her 20s, who would teach a 20-year-old girl to fly back in the early 1900s? I mean, it wasn't her. They just didn't do those things. Women were supposed to be sedentary in the house, doing all that kind of stuff. She was one of the first women to fly a gyrocopter. Did they have them back in the early 20s? Late 20s, early 30s. Let's see. First, she became the first female passenger to cross the Atlantic by airplane, for which she achieved celebrity status. Why? Why? In 1932, piloting a Lockheed Vega 5B, Earhart made a nonstop solo transatlantic flight, becoming the first woman to achieve this feat. She received the United States Distinguished Flying Cross for this accomplishment. In 1935, Earhart became a visiting faculty member at Purdue University as the advisor on aeronautical engineering and a career counselor to female students. Most inspirational American figures in aviation from the late 20s through the early 30s. Earhart's legacy is often compared to the early aeronautical career pioneer aviator Charles Lindbergh. During an attempt at becoming the first woman to complete a circumnavigation flight of the globe in 1937 in a Purdue-funded Lockheed Model 10E Electra, Earhart navigator Fred Noonan disappeared over the Central Pacific Ocean near Howland Island. The two were last seen in Lae, New Guinea. on July 2nd, 1937, on the last land stop before Howland Island and one of the final legs of the flight. It is generally presumed that she and Noonan died somewhere in the Pacific during this circumnavigation. Just 3 weeks prior to her 40th birthday, nearly 1 year and 6 months after she and Noonan disappeared, Earhart was officially declared dead. Investigations and significant public interest in their disappearance still continue over 80 years later. So this is a picture of her childhood. Let's see what her family did. Who could afford, you know what I mean, to send their daughter to flight school? I mean, who would know? Who would do that? So it apparently Samuel Edwin Stanton Earhart did. He was born in 1867 and died in 1930. Amelia Amy don't understand that part right here. The daughter of Samuel Edwin Stanton and Amelia Amy. Amelia, her mother, was born in 1869 and died in 1962. Is that right? How old was her mother? I'm sorry, I'm not good at math. How old was her mother? 1962. And she was born in 1869. Holy bejeebies. Her mother was 93 when she died. And she died in 1962. That's crazy. Wow. Her dad was only in his 60s, right? And she lived another, oh my gosh, 32 years. That's crazy. She was born in the home of her maternal grandfather, Alfred Gideon Otis, who was a former federal judge, the president of the Atchison Savings Bank, and a leading citizen in the town. Earhart was the second child of the marriage after an infant was stillborn in August of 1896. She was part of the German descent. Alfred Otis had not initially favored the marriage and was not satisfied with Edwin's progress as a lawyer. According to the family custom, Earhart was named after her two grandmothers, Amelia Josephine Hares and Mary Wells Patton. From an early age, Earhart was a ringleader with her sister Grace. Her sister Grace died in 1998. How old was Sister Grace? Let's just go back to the. I know we're kind of getting sidetracked, but this is amazing. People live that long. They weren't supposed to. 1998, 1899. Oh my gosh, sis was 99 when she died. Holy cow. 99 years old. Let's see. She was on a stamp. See how skinny she was? I said at the beginning of the show that she was really thin. I mean, that's no lie right there. Education. Now, she's much prettier here in this picture than some of the other pictures. She's got more hair here, it looks like. She's got a nice hat on there. It looks like she's sitting on a daggone roof. Perched atop the dome of Lowe Memorial Library in Columbia, 1920. Wow. There's a couple of flying beauties. Let's see, ah, that looks like a sack dress. Probably fashionable in the day. What she have in her hand? What do you got there, Amelia? I don't know what that is. Ooh. Ah! How do we get over to here? Let's go over here. See what's in her hand. In her gloved hand. A grenade? A hand grenade? Some kind of little roundy thing with the top on it and a ribbon. Interesting. How do I get out of this? Oh my gosh, let me out. Let me out, people. What is this? What? Oh, ah, no! What? The jeebies, here we go. Whoa! That is not a very flattering look for her. No way, Jose. Studio portrait. I don't know what she looked like. There she is with her husband. She had a husband. Putnam. He looks like a Putnam. Dude's got a massive, look at all these coats and hats in the background. He's being photobombed. Who's this dude on the wall back here? Check out man back here in the picture. He's quite burly. Yeah, he is. With it. Football player. Robert Redford, Howard Hughes may have helped with the finances. Oh. There's Robert Bradford. I'm sorry. You look so much like Robert Redford that I couldn't distinguish you. Howard Hughes may have helped with finances as he personally financed a lot of Lockheed stuff in the time. So there's an airplane. Hello, airplane. Harbor Grace, Newfoundland, Labrador. Okay. A Lockheed Vega 5B flown by Amelia is seen in display at the National Air and Space Museum. That's a cool looking plane. Department of Commerce, Bureau of Air Commerce. That's a funny looking aeroplane. So this is the thing that dropped her into the ocean somewhere. This is Amelia Lockheed Electra 10E. During its modification, the aircraft had most of the cabin windows blanked out and had specially fitted fuselage fuel tanks. The round UDF loop antenna can be seen above above the cabin right there. More details. Let's see more details. Oh no, dude. It took us to a completely different page. That's not what we want. We need to go back. Look at some more of these pictures. Alright. So we're gonna get along with this story here. Earhart and Noonan, the Lockheed L-10 Electra at Darwin, Australia, June 28, 1937. Right, so we'll look at a detailed map of this, but this is where they started here in California, flew this way, dropped off to the face of the earth here, because the earth is flat. And you notice here it's not square, but it is flat. They come back up from the back side of the earth here and fly this way until they get lost. All right, we'll look at that. There's a ship. So this is the area where they actually got lost. Earhart's flight was intended to be from Les Airfield to Howland Island, a trip of 2,556 miles. Wow, that little stretch is just 2,500 miles? Wow. This leg was the longest of the planned flight. The length was close to the maximum range probably of the airplane. But the plane and the destination was a small island in a large ocean. Then from there, they're going to Honolulu. Huh. Hmm. Whoa! Check out those ear flaps. That's great. All right. So they were going to fly around the world. Her and her navigator. And here's Earhart's around the world flight route. And man, I'd go ahead and give it to them. Literally. All right. So this is a pretty good map because it shows here each leg. So on May the 20th, 1937, they took off from Oakland, California. And they flew to Burbank, which was 325 miles. So you could follow it. Deep, 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 bouncy, 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 stop, 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 fly, fly, fly. You could follow it that way. So let's look over here on the mileage part. All right, so there's 1,250 miles from Arizona to New Orleans. I guess this leg here was 1,200 miles. 1,250. Then they did another 1,200 and another 1,130. All right, so here's one, man, that's 1,600 miles. That's a lot in a stretch. So what made them think, after they'd flown, the longest they'd ever flew, the furthest they'd ever flew, was 1,600 miles. And they wanted to almost double that in this one leg. I guess, I wouldn't say that they'd had to. I mean, I noticed, where was that one picture? Let's scroll down, scroll down, scroll down. Keep going, keep going. And this one, I think, is where if you zoom in, whoa, flat earth. You zoom in on this area here. I mean, I guess, I don't know. There's just no other way to get around that, I guess. Why didn't they? Seems like they could have flown up this way and gone over through Alaska. Probably as cold as witch's brew. Yeah, I guess that's probably the Hawaiian Islands are here. Yeah. It looks like that's probably about the only way to get across. Hmm. That's pretty wild. Yep. They had to do it that way. So that was going to be 2,500 miles, and they lost it. Never to be heard from again. So why does all that make the show important? Well, I know it's interesting. The fact that she was flying as a woman back in those times was very interesting. Apparently she had money and had backing, financial backing, however it came to her, to go around the world. Why? I mean, I'm sure it was, a record. But was it, how did people make money? Puthoe Bay, Alaska wasn't developed back then, no support. It would have been really cold too, I'm sure, to go up and fly that way. Of course, she could have started, from this leg here, started going north to get her up there, but I don't know, when was it? It's June. She was June 17th here. Yeah, it would have been hard to go up this way because then it would have been, I don't know what this ziggy zaggy line here is, but yeah, you know, you can make money if you're famous. Yeah, you could. Publicity. Yeah, but they got a bunch of bad publicity when the plane apparently fell out of the sky. Right, so decades, people have been searching, speculating, trying to find her, all that kind of stuff. So I saw on my Instagram feed that a group thinks they have found her airplane. And you know how Instagram things are. It's like, really? No, I don't think so. So I thought I'd do a little research. And so the story itself is true. There is an exploration team that thinks, of course, the CEO, this dude's, of course, he's in it all the way up to his eyeballs, so he's almost certain. I'm certain that this is the plane based on blah blah yada yada. So I started doing a little research on that. Not saying she was in it for the money, more likely to maintain doing what she likes doing. Right. And the only way to do that is to make money yourself or make other people money, and they just keep feeding you airplanes and navigators and fuel. And I couldn't imagine, even today, in this day and time, it would be hard for me. Maybe it would be easy for other people to set up an agenda like this. And they weren't taking weeks in between flights. So it wasn't like she could go to Calcutta and wait for fuel to come, for a week. I mean, it had to be there because she was there on June 18th and she flew to Akia, whatever this is, here the next day. So she was hitting stops and fueling and eating, and resting, whatever it was, and then flying the next day to the next place. June the 19th to the 20th. She made 2 hops June the 20th. She was in Singapore June 21st and Bagdian on June the 24th. Now it looks like she stayed there. Well, she flew somewhere June 25th and back there to 27th. Keo Pang in June 28th. So she was jumping. She stayed in Port Darwin, Australia she flew in there the 29th, and she didn't go to Leh until the July the 2nd. So she was there 3 or 4 days, probably prepping for the longest section of the flight. But I mean, all right, so getting back to the logistics, even today it would be hard to make sure that you contacted reliable people that would be there at the airport or landing strip or wherever it is you're flying into, be able to refuel the plane, check the air pressure, the oil, you know what I mean, kind of take care of it, and then fly it out, help her fly out the next day. So, even if you could pay with a credit card, it would still be hard to do. And back in this time, it would, to me, it'd be almost insurmountable. You would have to have, a really good communication system. It just, logistics at that time would be very, very difficult. Very difficult to set this up. But they did, and it worked. And it apparently went very, very well until this last little bit. So, for this group to say they found the airplane, or they really believe they found the airplane, I just had to look at it and see. And I'm going to tell you up front, I'm pretty disappointed in their, I won't say evidence, in their information that they use. Now, I haven't read every story out there on the internet about this, but I've seen the sonar pictures, and we're going to look at this short video that was put out. I can't remember who put this out. We'll look at it. And I'm just inside edition. So we're going to watch this little video. Let me make sure I turn my sound on today. I'm going to watch this little video, and I want you to pay close attention to their evidence. And let's see. When was this put out? So today's February the 1st. It was put out yesterday. I think that's what that says. All right, here we go. Let me kind of back it up.
Have some deep sea explorers found part of an 87-year-old mystery?
I mean, she's America's favorite missing person, right? You know, as long as she's missing, there's always going to be somebody out there searching.
The CEO of Deep Sea Vision says he believes his team has found the plane Amelia Earhart was.
Deep Sea Vision. The circled area is his evidence, his thought. This is sonar, from an unmanned sonar tag-along device that they put in the water, and he believes this is her aircraft. So let's go on. This yellow thing is the aircraft.
Flying when she disappeared.
How about taking me along?
Well, gasoline is really more valuable than you are on a long flight.
You mean that 180 pounds of gasoline you think would be more useful than 180 pounds of husband?
You've guessed right.
It took about 3 months of searching after reanalyzing her flight path.
Start by examining her final flight, her flight path. We analyzed the winds, her altitude, all the information that we had, and we came up with an area that we thought was reasonable and the highest probability for where.
So this is the guy on the screen, Romeo. What's his name? Tony. Romeo, yeah. He's the CEO of Deep Sea Vision. Of course, you know, we could figure it out. But what does this young man do to make him be able to afford to be the CEO of this? And since it's the CEO, I'm going to make a jump and say it's his company, it's his financing. You know, he's raised money, he's done all this stuff, I'm sure. But how do you wake up as a 7-year-old boy thinking, I want to be a deep sea explorer and find Amelia Earhart's airplane? I don't know. He's a beard model for J.C. Penney. Now, if you watched any of the shows and hear me talk, I'm lazy. I could never keep my beard trimmed. This day and time, I couldn't. Used to, I did all the time. And it didn't look like that. I had a much different beard when I was younger. But that's a lot of work to keep that beard shape. It's nice and thick, unlike my scraggly little, wispy broom-style beard. It's very thick, and he has a nice head of hair. That's because he's young, right? But yeah, that would be a lot of work to keep it like that. Unlike Robert's beard's looking good. It's getting some wave to it. He's letting it grow out there. Stick with it, Robert. Stick with it. All right, let's get back to the video.
Where she could have went down.
He says this sonar image of an object on the floor of the Pacific Ocean, about 100 miles from Earhart's intended destination, shares many of the same traits as her aircraft.
All right, so one of the reasons I went ahead and showed this video is because they do have an example of her airplane laid out next to this yellowy, scratchy line drawing that somewhat, like, who was it said if you squint? Clell says if you squint, it looks like a little like an airplane. It does. I'll give it that. It looks almost more like a huge boat anchor, like a big ship anchor. And I don't know, they never really talk about, and I don't know if they know how to do it or they can do it from the images, the actual dimensions of this object on the ocean floor. So let's continue.
More exploration and imaging will need to be done to prove whether or not it is her plane. But this team says they're hoping to bring closure to this story of an American hero.
You know, she was a fantastic person, a pioneer in the aviation field, early advocate for women's rights, and a terrific author, by the way. A lot of people know that about her. And so if we can help bring closure to this story and bring Amelia home, we'd be super excited.
For Inside Edition Digital, I'm Mara Montalbano.
No, don't do that. All right, so I don't, dude, I know it would be really cool if they could find it. It didn't say how deep it was. It didn't go into a lot of detail. Just don't know if that's the deal. This was a very interesting picture of her. She's definitely got this early road warrior look to her in this picture. Is this supposed to be her risque pilot look? You know? An interesting departure from her regular attire, looks like. Definitely has a boyish quality. Let's see what this picture says. Is that what they call a tomboy? Got that right. Alright, let's see, what is this one? What's this forensics expert saying about the disappearance? So this is March of 2018. Apparently this is not true because this says lost pilot Amelia Earhart's bones have been found on a Pacific island. Scientists claim. Amelia Earhart was flying from Papua New Guinea to Howland Island when she disappeared. So this is where she was supposed to land. I think this is where this guy said he found her bones on this little old stretch of land right there. Almost looks like an amoeba from here. All right. So it'll be interesting to see as things go on what this turns out to be. I just find it hard to believe that it, I mean, it looks like an airplane if you give give it credit, but I just don't know, man. Just don't know. Can't zoom in on that. Hmm. This is pretty interesting the way they talk about some notes. Let's see, we got little footnotes. Where did they do the footnotes? Okay. So from New Orleans to Miami, Florida, there's footnote 1. 8-day layover. Maintenance from Oakland to Miami. AE and Fred were accompanied by AE's husband, George Palmer Putnam, and her mechanic, R.D. Bowe Kennelly. Repair following AE's aborted first world flight attempt in March had been completed on May 18th, and this was a shakedown flight. 1-day layover, unscheduled navigational error. So it has footnotes. It tells you what happened and why. The bones apparently disappeared, right? Huh. I did see a recent story, but I can't find it. Earhart was the most famous woman pilot. She was not necessarily the most skilled. She crashed 3 other times. Yeah, well, I mean, you go up enough, you're bound to come down a few times unplanned. So, all publicity but determined. When they did an excellent job, like I said, I would give it to her because they come so close in a time where it had been, you know, really hard to even fly across the United States, much less around the world uh, privately. Of course, I guess she had a lot of money to back her, and like I said, she had to have a lot of support. Just flying in and out of these places where gasoline may be really, really hard to come by. I don't know. So I hope everybody, off on a different note, my show that I put out about daylight savings time and stuff, and talked about uh, the days getting longer after the winter equinox. I made it home today after 6 o'clock, which, is normal, and the sun had not fully set. It was still twilightish, you know. So you can walk around the yard and all that stuff, not even have to have a flashlight. I guess that's what a good way to describe it. So they're getting longer. It won't be much longer. My mother gave me one of those farmer almanac kind of calendars. And according to it, it has, you know, sunrise, sunset. It even has the length of the day. From today to Saturday or Sunday, from now to the weekend, we're supposed to pick up, according to it, supposed to pick up another 3 minutes worth of daylight during these next few days. So it's coming on us. It's coming on us quick. It won't be long. I'll be coming home from work. All right. Firing up that daggone push mower and mowing around on my yard. And I'm dreading it. I mean, I guess, you know, there's a lot of yin and yang and give and take. It's just stupid. I'd have to come home from work and then mow the yard. Clell, you got that phone handy? Could you give me a call? And at least see if this thing still works. That way Google will can see that I'm still using the number. You know, I'll call it from the home phone some and stuff, but that doesn't tell me whether it works online or not. You need to, let's see. I'll give you a hint. Give you a hint. There it is. It's on the screen now. 423-482-1413. 1413 it says. And Robert, you can tell me whether you can hear Clell. He gets called. He calls in. Let's do this. Highlight me. Whoop. Hi, everybody. All right, so it says I have one missed call and one new voicemail. Well, that's stupid. You saw me. I'm sitting right here. Try it again. Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. Duh, I had my do not disturb on. All right, there we go. I turned that off. But it did notify me. I got a little pop-up that says I had a voicemail or whatever. Okay, so now it says receiving call, but I don't hear it ring and ding-in. Why don't I hear it ring and ding-in? Huh. Okay. Here we go. Pick it up.
Call from.
Well.
To accept, press 1. To send a voicemail, press.
Did you make it?
I'm here.
Hey, all right. So let's see if Robert can hear him or hear you.
I can turn you down here. I'm getting feedback on my end, but I got you turned down where I can hear you.
All right. So Robert says, yep. I guess that means he can hear you, which is good. Now, one of the things I've tried to do with these new monitors is keep the window, the Firefox window, open all the time with the phone on it. So I'm going to try. He's a little bit quiet, he says. But I'm going to try to see if I click over here. Now say something.
Okay, say something.
All right, I definitely need to turn that up because it is
Yeah, it may be on my end, just being quiet.
Okay, it says
I can hear you fine.
All right. Well, it didn't cut you off. In the past, huh? What? Oh. In the past, if the window lost focus, if I was clicking around and showing other things, it dropped the call. So, like I said, I've got these windows, these monitors set up a little bit different now. So I think it seems. Are you still there?
Yeah, I can hear you, and I can hear you fine through my speaker, but it's delayed and kind of awkward to hear myself like 5 seconds later. But it's cool though. It's working good.
Yeah. All right. Well, like I said, Google keeps sending me these emails about, oh, we noticed that you haven't been using your phone number. And at one point I had to go back in and I won't say reclaim it, but I had to go and they I sent a
Yeah.
thing and they sent it a text message and then I had to, oh, that's what it was. I can forward this number to my cell phone, and uh, I hadn't done that in a while, and they wanted to know. Google needed to know, do you still have the cell phone that this is forwarded to? So
Mm,
they're
okay,
really,
I got you.
yeah, they're really uh, staying up
So
on all these numbers, I guess.
what spawned the Amelia Earhart show tonight? I mean, just something you saw on the with the sonar discovery and all that.
Yeah, like I said, it was on my. You may not have heard that, but it was on my like Instagram feed. I follow like National Geographic or something, crazy like that. Uh, and it said if this guy said he thought he found it, and so you know how it is. I can't believe that,
Yeah.
so I started looking at it myself, and then I found the pictures of the sonar that he was using. I said, "Oh, come on, really?" But maybe it's still too early in the story to really be able to tell.
Yeah, and they've done this before. I mean, back in the '70s, they did the same, and
Right,
all these. It's just a driving force to keep the funding going, and they give you just enough to get investors to come on board and pour more money into it, in my opinion. But
right,
it's there's 1,000 conspiracies over the years of why and all this stuff, and why that part of the world, and all the course, that happened back in the 30s, and
right,
all the prohibition era was over, and the women's movement, which is I'm all for, but they say she was quieted by the politicians and things. It's 1,000 conspiracies like that, but it's still a cool storyline.
right. Well, like I said, I'd give it to her. She comes a heck of a lot closer back in that time than a lot of people would have. But
Oh yeah, I mean it's cool, and we talked about support and things around the world. And can you imagine the southern tip of Africa in the 30s? I mean, it's not modern now, let alone
right,
then. And
right,
flying a twin engine airplane with one support person on board. I can't imagine the logistics of all that.
yep, yep. The only thing I can think of is some of those Indiana Jones movies where it shows him,
Oh yeah.
flying and making those different hops across, the world, and it's just like, my goodness.
But we talked about the gyro plane. She was the first documented woman that flew one of those, and that was first in development and technology of anything that flies was gyrocopters and gyroplanes, and that of course fixed wing is more efficient and they actually work better. So
Right,
I thought that was pretty cool. You remember a fellow we used to work with, Mark Freeman? He and I looked in those things at one point. We was actually going to buy a gyrocopter, and I really got fascinated with those things and the history of them. But you go back into the early pioneer days and the scientists and drawings and things that they
right.
actually thought of that before fixed wing.
Well, you should have jumped in on my show where I talked about those things and showed that video. But
Oh
you
yeah,
go
I
back
think.
and watch it again over and over, don't you?
Yeah, you know what?
Just can't get it. You're all 11 views of that that video.
That's me. That's all
Yeah,
me right there.
just watch it over and over again. But yeah, those are all pretty cool. And of course, the first time I ever saw, well, I don't know if I can tell you it's the first time, but when it was in the Mad Max movie and that guy with tall, skinny Ichabod Crane looking dude with no teeth flew one, and I thought that was pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's been 54 minutes, so I'm gonna get off of here. The wifey's home. stir the dogs up, see what she's
All
going
right,
to
well,
do.
I'll call in maybe next show a little earlier and we'll chat about something. But it's a pretty cool show tonight. Enjoyed
All
it.
right. Well, appreciate it.
All right,
Tell
see,
Robert bye now that you can actually speak to him.
see you, Robert.
Bye, Robert. Bye, Cleo. Appreciate it. Later, Gators. Turn my do not disturb back on. All right. Appreciate you watching the show. Like, subscribe, leave me a comment. Everybody say